Hello, in this video I have a game in my Arpeggio Kongo to show you. This is of course the ship that you win for completing the Arpeggio Kongo mission. Sink 30 enemy cruisers, then shoot down I think it's 150 enemy aircraft, and then finally do 1,000,000 points of damage to enemy ships, all of that in ships of tier 5 and above. So it actually is fairly involved to win it, and this is what you get at the end. And what actually is, I find this to be a bit underwhelming as a prize, given kind of how complicated the mission is to get it. Basically it's just a Kongo that has been reskinned with these pink lines all over it. But otherwise, it's exactly the same. Actually, it's kind of even worse than the regular Kongo, because the Arpeggio Fleet of Fog ships, or Fog Fleet ships, or whatever you want to call them, are their own nation, so you can't use this for crew training for, say, your Japanese battleship crew, and well, that is kind of a big reason I would have wanted this otherwise. It's also not a premium ship, so there's no bonus to experience or credits earned while playing this ship. So yeah, basically it's just a Kongo that you can't train your regular crews on. And comes with these pink lines on it, and also a Japanese announcement voice. The voice is it's the voice actor of the character Iona from the TV show and movies, which is actually kind of the wrong voice, because, well, it's the ship Iona and I'm in the ship Kongo, so in an ideal world I would have had the Kongo voice on this ship, but it kind of doesn't matter because I don't know what they're saying anyway. I kind of understand the word nanomaterials popping up every once in a while, and daijobu, which I think means I'm okay. Or maybe it's are you okay? No, I think daijobu desu is are you okay, so it's probably I'm okay or will okay or something. And I also understand her counting, you know, I know the first few numbers in Japanese. So, other than that, it doesn't really matter who's saying or what they're saying, because I don't understand any of it anyway. Oh, I understood Kleinfield there as well. That is of course the defensive force field around the Fleet of Fog ships. So I'm guessing that was something about how I've penetrated its Kleinfield with my awesome 14-inch shells. Actually, I'll talk a bit about the TV show and movie, because I've seen both now. I watched the TV show early last year, I think, and I watched the movie actually just a few weeks ago. Not really a huge fan of either. The TV show was kind of okay. The battle scenes were probably the high point of it for me. Weren't that... Well, they were quite predictable what was going to happen, but still pretty well done. The problem I had with the show was basically everything else. It was just far too, the term I can only think of is like male power fantasy, where it's basically this guy gets basically one girl who's like really powerful and goes on adventures with her where they fight other girls who all eventually join him and just do whatever he says, and it's all just kind of awful, really. But okay, and that's only like 80% of the show that's like that. Basically this one guy going around collecting girls who all just obey him unquestionably? I don't know. Anyway, and then I watched the movie, and I didn't watch the movie when it first came out because I didn't really like the TV show, so I didn't think I liked the movie. But I decided I'd watch it anyway. I didn't have very much else to do, and I really regretted it. The movie is 2 hours long, and the first hour and a half is actually basically a synopsis of the TV show. So I could have skipped the entire first hour and a half and wouldn't have lost anything just because I'd already watched the TV show. And the final half hour, I'm pretty sure is actually going to be the first episode of the next season when it comes out, because that's really what it felt like. It really was just, you know, continuing the final bit of the plot from the first season and setting up the plot for the second season, which I'm pretty sure they're going to have to do at the start of the second season anyway. So if you've watched the TV show, just save yourself 2 hours and watch it when the second season comes out, and I'm pretty sure you'll get the exact same information. I should also mention, when I saw the missions, and they had one for the Kongo, one for the Miyoko, I was a bit confused because the Miyoko wasn't in the TV show. So I was thinking, did they just make her up? We've got to give out a second ship, and we obviously can't give out 2 Kongos, but none of the other ships that are in the TV show are actually currently modelled in games. We'll just give them a Miyoko because it's something different. And actually, no, that's not true. We've got the Otago, which is a Takao class cruiser, and Takao is a major character in the show. So we could have done that instead, but anyway. That's what I was thinking. They've just made up some random character, obviously in line with the Arpeggio people, to give out. Then I watched the movie and said, no, the cruiser Miyoko is in the movie. She gets maybe 15 seconds on screen, says I think one line before the camera pans over her. Well, it's not really a camera because it's animated, so the frame, she moves out of frame, whatever. And apparently that is sufficient to get her a, not a premium ship, a mission on World of Warships. So, yeah. And also, yes, she is apparently the Student Council Vice President of the Fleet of Fog. Why a fleet of warships need a student council at all, let alone a president or vice president, kind of a bit beyond me, and they gave a very underwhelming explanation of why that was, but I said I'm not really a fan of this series, so I'm a bit cruel to them at times. The last thing I was going to talk about was the Kongo itself. It's a pretty powerful ship. It's not one of my favourites, and there's really only one reason for that, and that's because it's a battle cruiser. And the problem, well, a bit of a summary of what a battle cruiser is. It's basically got battleship guns, but it's a lot faster than the battleship, but has a lot less armour. Which means that in the ship, it's got the speed, so you can maintain what range you want against your enemies most of the time, but I'm not sure what range I actually want. To me, the guns only really seem accurate when I'm at about 8 kilometers range of the enemy. But by that point, my armor's quite thin, and enemy battleships will have no problem penetrating me. But if I stay back around 12 kilometers, which is what you've seen me doing for most of this game so far, it's a lot of luck, and whether my guns hit, I'm not that accurate. But my armor holds up pretty well. And it's just that dilemma that makes me... Oh. First kill there. Excellent. As I say, it's that dilemma that makes me think this ship's kind of average. It's got a lot of potential to be good, but I'm not sure whether I should be trying to take it in close to wreck my enemies with my gun, or hanging back to, you know, protect myself and keep myself safe. And it's just a case you've got to think a lot about what to do and how to do it and when to do it, which, as I say, don't really like about this ship. Well, I suppose it means that you've got to actually think about it and do a bit of work, which, with a bit of practice, I'll hopefully enjoy. But when I had the ship back in closed beta, it seemed like too much work. I'd much rather just have a Fuso or Nagato, which I know it's got the armour to hold up at close ranges, or at least the effective range of its guns. But right about now, well, you saw I didn't quite get my guns on this Cleveland earlier, just couldn't quite swing them around quickly enough to get shots on it. I was going to shoot at it when it came around the island and just completely and utterly wreck it, but it looks like it's stopped and is now reversing behind the island. So I decided that I've had enough of hanging back, and now I'm going to try closing in and using my guns in their effective range. I figure now's the time to do so, because even at close range, I think my armour is going to be enough to keep me safe from the Cleveland and other light cruisers which are around somewhere. Yeah, the armor's not great. I believe it's 256mm over the Citadel, from memory. I might be wrong there. It is in the 200s at least, as most battleships are around 300 or 350, or I should say 300 up. 250-ish is enough to keep out probably even heavy cruiser shells, but 12-inch shells, 14-inch shells, 16-inch shells will go straight through it at close ranges. Even possibly at medium ranges, they'll go straight through it. But since I've got a Cleveland off to my left and a Phoenix in front of me, I figure I am safe to just charge in and destroy these guys. So I come around the island, trying to get my rear two turrets firing or pointing in the right direction. So I'm going kind of away from it just to give them a bit more time. But now's the time to swing around the island. And we can just see the end of this Cleveland. It's only got a few hit points left, so it's basically going to die whether I get round or not. And zooming in, look at that secondary turret swing around to me, and there goes all of our secondaries. And it gets a few hits on me. It swung its turret around pretty quickly. I fire off one of my turrets, but my second turret is the one that actually kills it. 3 hits was sufficient. And now I have to swing my entire ship around to deal with this Phoenix and the other Cleveland who's back here. There was that nanomaterials, the bit that one of the things that I said I recognise. Luckily the Phoenix is ignoring me because at this range its torpedoes could put a lot of hurt into me. Probably not enough to kill me, but if I run aground I would make an easy target. I do get some shells out, do a fair bit of damage, but I didn't quite aim well enough to finish it off. But my rear two turrets, well, I get one Citadel hit, which is more than enough to sink that Phoenix. And reversing back off the rocks there, taking some hits from the Cleveland, and look at this anime fire it's got. I think it actually just looks bad as opposed to it looks like anime fire. It just looks like bad fire. But that's just my opinion. I do a little bit of damage to the Cleveland, but Cleveland's got fairly thick armour and it's angled pretty well, so I'm not actually likely to get a Citadel penetration at this range and angle. But I still do a bit of damage. 1680 there, that was probably a couple of over penetrations. And unfortunately it's actually doing more damage to me than I am to it at the moment. But it's got very few hit points, so those ones should finish it off. But I didn't aim very well, so it gets out there. 300 hit points left. Fire off 2 more turrets, but of course it's going to die well before my shells arrive. Which means that, well, there's only 2 enemy ships remaining, both of them battleships. Now I should also say that before I kind of charged in through the gap there and dealt with those cruisers, well, I had a bit of support from my allies coming up from the south. This game was actually pretty even. It was 6 on 5 at that point, whereas of course now it's a 6 on 2, so I guess I probably did choose the right moment to push. And actually now it's a 6 on 1, that Kongo just died. Which leaves the last enemy ship is this Fuso, which is almost on full health, but it's not going to last long against the 6 of us. And yes, that Cleveland I killed, well, I didn't kill, I did a bit of damage to earlier, is calling its team cowards, even though if you look on the minimap, it died about as far away from our team as it could possibly be. It's the only enemy ship that's died behind its base, and it was actually almost on the map border, away, you know, way behind its base. It was running away from us and it died, and it's accusing everybody else of being cowards. But you get those people, it's online gaming. Anyway, got a few hits on the Fuso so far, nothing really spectacular. Full broadside out, and it looks good. And 7,500 damage, 3 hits, that's alright, I'll take that. But it's going to be a while till I can put more damage in. Fuso's lost, well, 2/3 of its health, 3/4 of its health. So I said it's not going to last much longer, but unfortunately it's turning away from me, and that means this broadside's not going to do a lot of damage if I fire it now, so I decided to hold on to it for a while, wait to see if it'll swing right around. And it does. So I fire off my broadside, but I held it just a little too long and missed the opportunity to do a little bit more damage. But got 44 shots on target and shot down 1 aircraft, sunk 3 enemy ships, so it's a pretty alright game. Best on my team, just beat my allied Fuso even though it got the Confederate medal. You see I also shot down more aircraft than any ship in the game. 61,000 damage and got a little bit with my secondaries as well. And, well, as I said, I've got this kind of thing with the Kongo where I'm not sure whether to stay back at long range or close in close to deal with my enemies. But after this game, I decided that I'm going to try and favour the closing in style of gameplay, at least against cruisers and other light ships, maybe hang back from battleships. Which means that I haven't actually used the increased firing accuracy that comes from completing the mission, or the modification I mean, the increased firing accuracy modification, and instead I went with increased secondary armament range and accuracy, just because I feel that the one favours the long range, keep yourself safe style of play, whereas I want to do the aggressive, get in there and do damage style of play, which I feel the secondaries, or the buff to the secondaries, is really going to help me out. But having said that, I fired 55 shots and got 1 hit, and that 1 hit only did 290 damage, so maybe my secondaries aren't actually going to be that helpful, even if they do get an accuracy hit increase and a range increase. I mean, this game it might have changed it to perhaps 70 hits of 70 shots fired, of which maybe 3 hits and 700 odd damage, which isn't actually that helpful, but I'll play this ship a few more times and see how it works out. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all next time.